I'll tell you what. This is gonna blow your mind. I think Fred VanVleet's smarter. Oh,
then who?
Why are you bringing up?
Than who?
You said smartest defenders of all time. You seen Fred VanVleet? Have you seen Fred VanVleet physically?
Are we having
that dude should not be able to survive.
Are we having a conversation about Fred VanVleet and
No, we're not, Chill. No, we're not.
As
no, we're not.
Smartest
I'm out. I'm letting you know that
defenders.
right now. I'm out.
No, we're not. We're not talking about that.
How are you defining smart?
I say this as respectfully as possible. Take a walk, brother.
No,
take a walk.
I'm not doing that.
No, you
no.
take a walk.
So you're saying Fred VanVleet is smarter than Hakeem. Oh, okay.
I'm saying Fred VanVleet is one of the smartest defenders of all time. When you talk about smart, I'll give you Draymond because he is overcoming a sincere lack of vertical athleticism, size, and he's finding it through angles. What are we talking about?
Is Fred VanVleet smarter than
Olajuwon.
Stockton? Is Fred VanVleet smarter than Stockton as a defender?
Got dirty.
I don't
do this. Ben, don't
know.
do this.
I don't
You
know.
don't know.
But
What
I
are
think
you talking about,
honestly, yo, chill. What is intelligence on defense? It's preparedness. It's hand-eye coordination. It's overall like understanding court mapping defensively. You look at Fred VanVleet, 6'2" wingspan, 6 feet tall, not very athletic. Right. The fact that you can say what you want about defensive analytics. The fact that he consistently for the last 6 to 7 years has ranked as one of the best defenders in the NBA is honestly a testament to him overcoming.
Wait. Ranked how?
Limits.
How is one of the best? Like how has he been ranked one of the best defenders in the NBA?
In terms of just overall how effective the team is when he's on the court defensively, Ox, and how ineffective they are when he's not on the court. We can agree that Fred VanVleet is a very inefficient offensive player, right?
We ain't talking about that. No. We're not talking about that, Pen. We stay on the defensive side of the ball. Let's stay on the defensive side of the ball. I want to stay on the defensive side of the ball, and I want to stay in Houston. How much is this Houston defense affected when Fred VanVleet is off the floor, as opposed to, in terms of intelligence, as opposed to when Thompson is off the floor?
Because he could be direct control, right? Is that all right?
Well, I guess it depends on who's playing in his place, right? I think that matters if you're talking about on-offs and splits and stuff like that. But Fred's deflections, Fred's organization of his team defense, his communication, the amount of turnovers he forces, the fact that he's able to protect the rim at all at his size is ridiculous. He does protect the rim.
He gets swiped downs. He gets swiped
downs. They call him blocks.
Today, you talking about Raptors, Fred VanVleet?
Yes, no, I'm talking about
even today. Even today.
It's not a block. Swipe down is not a block.
How do you think Fred VanVleet is averaging like 0.6 blocks?
No, I'm cool with that. I agree. He's one of. But why are we talking about Fred VanVleet in the GOAT conversation?
Fred VanVleet. How did we get to Fred VanVleet when we talking about Draymond Green?
Let me just throw this out there. He's also very positionally versatile. Bet you didn't think that. He guards small forwards.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
Ron, you not going to do nothing about this, Ron?
I saw. Since we're there, I saw a guy looking for Fred VanVleet like this, eyes wide open last night.
Yeah,
where's Fred at?
When you only watch 2-3 Fred.
Where's Fred at? Where's he at?
I watch every Fred VanVleet game. Every single one.
Would you agree with what I'm saying? We can all agree that he's.
No, I agree with you. Nobody disagrees. I just know where it came from.
I agree. He's a very smart defender. I agree with that.
Pen.
Yes.
Pen.
What's up, Ron?
Be that as it may, he could be the smartest defender to ever walk this earth.
But I was looking
at
with Draymond Green.
No, but here's the
conversation requires defenders. If you say he can be the smartest this earth, then what's the argument?
Here's the point. No, here's the point I'm making. I'm not making an argument or no pushback to how smart the brother is. The point I'm making is we are talking about the class of defenders we're talking about. It's not just about how smart they were. It was about their ability to execute on the defensive end and the ability to completely just stifle other teams' whole
We're not even talking about
organization.
At this
but wait a minute. Wait. Mars, don't let Ron off the hook with this, because let's talk about basketball IQ. When you think about basketball IQ as a defender, when you run down all the basketball IQs, when does Fred VanVleet's name come up?
Not top 50. I'm not even.
I'm just saying, and I'm
not even thinking
about it. I'm talking about
your
argument.
No, chill. Let's not.
His name don't never come up. It never comes up.
Let's not talk about all time. Let's talk about today. No, let's talk about today.
I mean, I could argue
you ain't even talk about Rajon Rondo. You could have said Rajon Rondo. You could have said Jason Kidd. You went to Fred VanVleet. just said Tony.
I do think Jason
one of the
Kidd's
Tony Allen.
of all time.
You know what I'm saying?
I do
Tony
think Jason
Allen.
Kidd's a smart defender than Fred VanVleet.
Okay,
like
hang on.
I know. I said Shane Battier, but goddamn,
Bruce
Bowen, all of them.
Ox, one of the biggest things that allows you.
Manu Ginobili.
Yo, y'all know this as hoopers.
Bobby Jackson. Bobby Jackson. And we having a conversation. Goodness gracious. He was what, 6 feet, Ox? Bald. And bald.
Fred VanVleet
and got it done.
Yeah,
at least Fred VanVleet has hair.
A bald-headed defender.
A bald-headed short man.
What the hell does hair have to do with this?
He can't even protect his own. This is what I'm saying. This he don't know. He don't know ball. Do you not realize that when you short in the NBA and bald, everybody's looking at you like you chump change? Like Michael Petrus, because he was bald, people thought he was chump change. And that man had to go to work defensively.
He was 6'6",
and he locked in.
Don't know
he locked in.
Mikal Petrus was 6'6".
I know, but he locked in.
You were talking about Draymond. How the hell did we get to Fred VanVleet? I'm trying to figure
because
that out.
Swiper's trying to
trying
to vent to
what's his defensive board? What's his defensive board?
Fred VanVleet's smarter on defense than Hakeem. So.
Which is nuts. Okay, so let's get back.
Let's get swipe downs.
Let's get back. This will be one of your most unforgiving moments on
this is one of those. This take responsibility by Puma.
This was
Ron.
Ron,
he gets swiped
by
Puma. Ron, he gets swiped down. So respect the swipe downs.
This is
I do think Fred VanVleet.
I'm telling you right now, there's a reason why this dude went undrafted, because people looked at him, looked at his physics, and said he's not going. No, they looked at him and they said, as well as he shoots, as well as he orchestrates an offense, he is not going to be able to survive in the NBA level as a defender because he's so undersized. The fact
Fred came
that,
out of VCU.
hang on. No,
he Wichita State.
He went to Wichita State.
I always get those confused. You know, the yellow, red, you know.
The fact that not only is he not a defensive liability, but he has consistently been one of the top 3 to 5 point guard defenders in the league through most of his prime.
No, he has not. Stop it, bro.
I said 3 to 5. I said 3 to 5.
He's not even top 10 right now.
CP3, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook off the top of my head.
CP3, Russell Westbrook.
CP3, Russell Westbrook, and John Wall. Right there. There's 3 easy. There's 3 easy. Yeah, John Wall.
When did Fred VanVleet come in? 2019?
He showed up in 20.
Yeah,
that was his rook season.
That's post Achilles John Wall at that point.
Bro,
Drew Holiday. Somebody said it. Derek White.
Drew Holiday, I'll give you. Derek White. Derek White's not a point guard.
He's a combo guard. What y'all yapping about?
I hate to step in and interrupt this intense yap session that you're currently watching, but I just have to inform you on all the amazing, spectacular, fabulous, endless ways to play and win over at Prize Picks. Basketball fans, I know the season is just tipping off. Yes, I know this. But you know what that means? It means that you have an opportunity to pick your favorite players and their matchups that are the most thrilling, and you can win money from these. With Prize Picks, you can play daily NBA contests and test your hoop knowledge by choosing the player projections and every single stat line imaginable to make your Prize Picks and take home some nice hard-earned cash. Are you a rookie in the game? Don't even sweat it. I got the playbook for you right here. All you have to do is download Prize Picks, use promo code PANEL, and you will get $50 instantly when you play 5 here with Prize Picks. So what are you waiting for? Download Prize Picks, use promo code PANEL, and join me as we break down all of our amazing daily picks right here on the panel. Prize Picks. Run your game, control your game, win your game. It's easy, baby. It's easy.
Fred VanVleet.
Davion Mitchell.
Davion Mitchell, not better.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
no,
you
he's
got
not.
your mind.
No, he's
not.
not.
You have officially
you hate
lost
Davion
your
Mitchell.
Puma sponsor.
Now,
no,
wait, because we're swaying the conversation. We're talking about basketball IQ. Now we're talking about him being a better overall defender.
Well, no,
wait a minute now.
Chris Gunn,
that was the point I was making.
Right.
It doesn't matter how smart you are
Alex
as a defender.
Caruso played golf in Texas A&M.
I'll give you top 10. He's been a top 10 point guard.
Oh, now you keep moving. Now you keep moving the
I said
goalpost.
3 to 5. This
is what happened to you the other day on Playback. You kept moving the goalpost. You ended up getting clapped for it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
What? No. Swipe, you so nasty. You're so nasty. The dude came in with his mic 8 decibels up and just screamed over me for 3 minutes, and you say,
"Come on, man, you got cooked. You got cooked." I watched it after.
Was Fred VanVleet a better defender than Eric Bledsoe?
Eric
I
Bledsoe?
don't think so.
No.
And again, Mars,
Yeah.
this is what we do. See, Mars, this is what we're doing. We're moving the goalposts again. We're stuck on, because I want to stay on basketball IQ, because I don't want to have this conversation about him now being a better, because he wasn't a better defender than Kyle Lowry. He wasn't.
There wasn't.
I agree.
And he was on the same team with him. So
Lowry's great too.
And
He
Kyle
was
Lowry is not in the conversation.
Lowry should count as one of those high IQ defenders too. Where you think
He's a
Fred
high
learned
IQ
it from?
defender.
100%.
But very smart.
This is what I don't want to do, Penn. I don't want to overstate a guy being being smart as a defender. I don't want to overstate that, but I also don't want to overrate them because they're smart. Okay, because I'm smart, that doesn't mean I should go to Harvard.
Chill. Stop for a second.
I'm not that smart.
Who you defend? No. Hang on. Your quality as a defender comes down to your role defensively, number one, and number two, the quality of opponents. I think we can all agree that point guard position in the NBA has never been bigger than it is right now, and it has never been quite as dynamic and as deep as it is right now. Okay,
we don't either way it goes.
Hang on.
Every night, it could be the best class of point guards ever. You still gotta guard him. And if you're getting cooked, you're getting cooked,
bro.
I'm not saying he's getting cooked, but I'm saying like
all the respect you give to Draymond.
Make exceptions for Fred VanVleet. Especially
we're not making exceptions, Ron. He has legitimately carved out a role.
Henny, I'll say that too.
Why are we being so
Ron Harper
almost willfully obtuse about this? I'm talking about a guy who went from undrafted to all-star to a Mac fucking player.
You wild as hell for that. You wild as hell.
And he's been undersized in almost every single matchup he's ever had. Now, I want to say that his lateral quickness has gone down a little bit right now, so he's not quite the point of attack defender that he was. The fact that he is able to do this post 31 is freaking a ridiculous. You have to give this dude credit as one of the smartest players of all time. I don't care what you say, offensively, defensively.
I just don't
Fred VanVleet's basketball IQ is insane.
Why can't it just be that he's a very smart player? Like I agree.
No,
with you.
he's very smart. Not talented offensively. He's very smart.
You can be one of the smartest players of all time. I'm not going to argue that point. You can be. You're not in the same conversation with these dudes, though. No, you're not.
Because what's happening here is you're conflating two arguments. I'm not saying he's on par with any of the top 30, 40 defenders of all time. I'm not talking about Hakeem and Fred VanVleet as impact defenders. I'm trying to tell you that one of those guys,
just in terms of upstairs.
I'm talking about how you're processing the game, Chill. I'm trying to tell you that Hakeem Olajuwon may have been an inch undersized for his position, but he made up for it with length. I'll tell you that Rajon Rondo was a little bit undersized for the point guard position, but he made up for it with length and athleticism. Fred VanVleet don't got that. Fred VanVleet don't got elite athleticism. Fred VanVleet is not only, hang on. If I told you, forget I'm talking about Fred VanVleet. Let me tell you, imagine I told you that a guy was slower than his opponent on almost a nightly basis, smaller than his opponent on a nightly basis, had less length than his opponent on a nightly basis, had less hops than his opponent on a nightly basis, and was routinely a 95th to 96th percentile defender per every single analytic on the planet through all his prime.
That's what that
sound like Chris Paul.
That sound like
it is not like Chris Paul, because Chris Paul is an absolutely a 98th to 99th percentile athlete through most of his prime.
If you would have brought up Chris Paul, I think nobody would have tripped out for the most part.
Bro, Chris Paul is
sounds like people are just mad.
Fred VanVleet is not an elite athlete.
No.
You watch him move around the court. He's not an elite athlete.
I never said.
So how is he succeeding? Explain it. Explain.
You're not going to argue with me. I think Fred VanVleet's a good player.
He's succeeding, to your point, because he is smart. However, I'm not arguing the point that he's not smart, Penn. I'm not arguing that point. What I am arguing is the point of the class you're putting him in. He's not that smart. That's the problem.
Why isn't he?
Why isn't he? Because I think he would.
Well, how is it?
Okay. Well, let me ask. Let's flip the question.
The reason why I don't think so is because if he was, considering the teams that he was on, this is the same Fred VanVleet who was on playoff teams. This is the same Fred VanVleet,
NBA champion. Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, he was on
who
NBA
guarded Steph Curry in the finals. Fred VanVleet.
And with that being said,
he did a great job.
100% he did. What I'm saying is that he would have produced, because again, we can't take production out of this, and production matters. And Fred VanVleet being a starting lead guard on a playoff team, being a heavy rotation player on a championship team, for what you're telling me in terms of his basketball IQ, how smart he is, and what he produces, it sure doesn't show it. It sure does not show it.
What did he not produce?
Well, he didn't produce
enough.
He shot 7% for an entire series against Philadelphia, or 8%, and still kept his rotation spot. What does that tell you about what he's providing defensively?
Okay, and again,
is there another player in the league that could have shot 8% for an entire series in which you go down to a game 7 and the coach still plays him? I mean, you could say he had some tape on Nick Nurse for how much Nick Nurse trusted that dude defensively. He put him on the best player on the other team and said, stop him. And he did a pretty good job. I'm not going to deny that Steph Curry did a good job in the finals, but he worked hard, okay, in those finals. Look, all I'm going to say is this, okay? If I could do a brain transplant of Fred VanVleet's brain and put it into some of the defenders that you're thinking about, they don't get worse. I'll tell you that. You can argue all day that Hakeem Olajuwon ain't getting better with Fred VanVleet's basketball IQ, but he ain't getting worse. Because if you look at what Fred VanVleet has had to succeed with, the physical limitations, and you put that in a 6'10" athletic dynamo who's bouncy with a 7'4" wingspan, you really are talking about some shit you never seen before. You might be talking about Bill Russell.
And that's a fair point, but I can counter that with, it's a lot less difficult for me as a rotation player who is shooting bad to go into the game and only concentrate on defense, because we have guys to supplement that stuff while I'm shooting bad. So with that being said, a guy like Fred VanVleet, if I come into the game and all I'm asked to do is slow down Steph Curry, which is a lot, which is almost impossible, but your only responsibility is to make it difficult on Steph Curry. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now, if you make shots, that's a bonus.
All you have to do.
Clearly, he does, because he shot 8%. So he wasn't on the floor for offense. So he clearly wasn't on the floor to score the basketball. So he
heated up against Milwaukee. I'll tell you that.
No. We're gonna stay on Steph Curry. So we're gonna stay straight on Steph Curry.
Oh, he shot well in the playoff. He shot well in the finals.
You just said 8%. That's what this is the number that you gave me.
Philly series.
Okay, so
he shot 8% in the Philly series.
Right. So again, he's going up against Maxey. Was it Maxey? No. Maxey wasn't there at that point. I'm sorry. Were you talking about a guy?
Ben and Jimmy Butler.
Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler.
Yes. So my job. My job is to come into the game, because I'm not shooting the basketball well. My job is to come into the game and slow down and make it difficult on a guy in Ben Simmons who's not going to shoot the ball anyway. Even though I'm outnumbered in terms of size against him, he's not going to shoot the basketball anyway. Now, wouldn't I, if it's basically 5-on-4, wouldn't it be more beneficial to me as a smart defender to go, like you said, dig in the paint a little bit more, get in the passing lane a little bit more? Why? Because this guy that I'm covering, I don't have to worry about him scoring the basketball, which means that if I'm doing that stuff more, I should get more steals, right? I should get more deflections, because this guy that I'm dealing with, he's not really that much of a part of the offense. I don't have to worry about him scoring. But instead, what kind of production are we looking at from Fred VanVleet? What kind of production are we looking at from him in that aspect? I don't think it was much. And I think that's what a separator is when you're talking about him being in conversations with guys like Stockton, with guys like not Isaiah Thomas, with guys like Stockton, with guys like Chris Paul, and guys like that.
The Houston Rockets chose him literally over James Harden for the stability that he provides that organization. They paid him the same contract that James Harden wanted. They snubbed one of the greatest players of all time, still serviceable, still very good, still an all-star level for this dude. He made an all-star team. Now, here's the thing. If I tell you there's two guys, one guy had 100,000, the other guy had $1 billion, and they both ended up at the exact same place, I think you might have some stuff to say about the $100,000 dude and how he made up that gap. Fred VanVleet is the $100,000 dude. He is the guy that nobody thought
he's
could
not
make it.
Arriving at the same places with billionaires. That's the point I'm trying to make, Penn. Throughout this whole thing, and I want to respect.
I'll agree with that.
I want to respect Fred. I don't want to make it seem like I'm disrespecting Fred. It's still levels. And how smart
if I inherit $100 million and someone else starts off bankrupt, $0, and the person with $0 ends up becoming a multi-millionaire, 200 million, 300 million, and the guy with 100 million ends up having 800 million. Who is smarter financially?
The guy who started at zero, because that's the hardest thing. Your first million is the hardest.
Fred has no physical advantages. He has no
bingo. He has one physical advantage.
Morris,
Like,
that's the point I'm making.
Who's the smarter defender to you, Wemby or Fred VanVleet?
But that's the point I'm making.
Wemby's not there yet.
I'm just trying to get the barometer of intelligence versus physical advantages. Does everyone agree that Fred VanVleet is a smarter defender than Victor Wembanyama?
Yes,
sure,
100%.
Okay. Is Fred VanVleet a smarter defender than Evan Mobley?
Yes.
Yes.
100,000% yes.
I think 10 plus years in the league matters.
Okay.
He came in a smarter defender. Wiper.
Is he a smarter defender than Marcus Smart?
No.
Yes.
Marcus Smart was also an elite defender coming out of college as well.
Okay, Marcus Smart is 6'4" and is very
That's
athletic.
not the conversation. Is he a smarter defender? No. I'm saying I think Marcus is smarter.
Yeah, but Penn's bringing up the physical limitations again. That's why.
No, I don't think so.
But for the context of using those things, that's not the conversation. The conversation I'm saying that I think Marcus Smart is obvious for me. Came in an elite defender, was also a very knowledgeable elite defender, and then has done it through several levels as a primary guarding option on several different iterations of that Celtic team. I'm giving Smart the nod in that context. I've seen him use his gifts unlike anybody else. And if you want to talk about playing in the passing lane, there was a period probably from 18 to 22 or 19 to 22, where Marcus Smart was probably the best off-ball guard in the sport, bar none, because of his ability. And I would even say this, when I saw him play versus Embiid, Jokic, Giannis, in particular, he's probably the best among guards at swiping down at the ball on those closeouts or on those little fast first dribble doubles. Marcus did that better than anybody else. So I'm saying I'm putting Marcus there.
I agree with Keys in the chat, but sorry, go ahead.
And Penn, I don't think that we talk much about being an irritant as well. And I think that matters as a defender, because I think that throws guys offensively off of their game. And I think Marcus Smart, I think he was one of the best irritants in the game. And that's a part of that. I think that's a part of basketball IQ, to be able to get into your head as a defender. And I think Marcus Smart was fantastic at that.
Marcus is amazing. He's an absolutely, physical specimen as a defender. When I watched him in college, I was like, oh my God, this guy's going to come in and lock down. I want this guy to be a lead guard on my team. I felt the same way about Drew Holiday. Cannot ignore the physical advantages that you have when you are 6'4" with a 6'8" wingspan at the point guard position swiper. The fact that Fred VanVleet is even close to Marcus Smart in terms of cumulatively, guess who has more defensive win shares on their career? Of course, Marcus Smart. But it's a small gap. It's a small gap. And by the way, per game, it's actually not a gap. Marcus has been in the league longer. Okay.
Do you think that do you think that Fred VanVleet, do you think everything is equal and he's on a fantastic team, just like Marcus Smart is on a fantastic team? He's on a great defensive team, just like Marcus Smart is on a great team. Do you think, even with his physical limitations, do you think he affects the game as much as Marcus Smart would affect the game defensively?
No. I also don't think there's many guards that can say they have in the last 20 years over like a 5-year sample size.
Because Penn, this is what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about what you mentioned when you talked about him coming into the league in 19. Does he affect the game defensively
16.
more than
in the league in 16, 17?
He wasn't playing for. We don't care.
So if him coming into the game at that stretch, does he affect the game on the defensive end more than Kemba Walker did?
Yes. Yeah. Kemba Walker is not a good defender. In Fred VanVleet.
But maybe he's smart.
I'm talking about upstairs, and I'm thinking about the better league guards in the game during the time that he was in the game.
Once
Russ,
again, when I think
I'm not going to say Damian Lillard. I'm not going to say guys.
Chill. We have all watched thousands and thousands of hours of basketball. I think we can all agree the twitchiness, length, positional size, strength are all things that help lead guards. We've seen it. Through 50 years of basketball, we can all agree that those traits transfer well. I think we can also agree that being a little bit pudgy and vertically challenged, and not having very long arms and not having very big hands, all of these things are typically considered negatives defensively, which is why nobody drafted him. So the fact that he has been able to overcome that, and even if you don't think that he's a better defender than Marcus Smart, and we could argue that, and I could even make an argument that Marcus Smart has just been marginally better as a defender on his career per game, per minute, whatever. Okay. the fact that he's even in that conversation with someone who has so many advantages over him, and Marcus Smart is a very smart defender. Drew Holiday's very smart.
In that conversation, though,
we
put him in the conversation.
We can agree to disagree.
In that conversation,
he definitely is in that conversation.
For you,
yes, for you, yes, for me, he's in that conversation. Yeah. Analytically, he's in that conversation. My eye test says he's in that conversation. Impact says he's in that conversation. His team success says he's in that conversation. His championship ring says he's in that conversation. And frankly, a lot of things say he's in that conversation.
I wish Marcus Smart was on that 19 Raptors team.
That would have been great. That would have been great. Look, I am the. You know what the funniest thing is? I hate the narrative around how overrated Fred VanVleet got in Toronto. I hated it. All-star.
Fred VanVleet did great in Toronto. On top of that, Fred VanVleet contributed heavily to that 19 ring. I'm not trying to.
I agree.
I wasn't trying to say like that. I think Fred VanVleet outplayed Kawhi in multiple games in that whole playoff run. If I'm being honest, maybe not for the whole.
Mean two.
There was that's
more
what
than
one. There was stretches. So okay, so when I said that, I expected y'all to feel me on that. Not I'm talking about there were stretches. You know what I'm saying? There were stretches in the game where like, yo, Fred is really carrying right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think we all can agree on that. Fred VanVleet played amazing. He earned that ring. I wasn't trying to say it like that. What I was trying to say is that defense with Kawhi, with the big fella, with Siakam, with Serge, if they had Kyle Lowry, if they had Marcus Smart instead of Fred VanVleet, I think that defense might be one of the best defenses ever.
It's the player choice way. Yeah, them boys don't get it started. The player choice way. The player choice way. Come and switch lanes into the player choice way.